Do you love going out birding or simply observing birds from your window or from your backyard? Do you wish you could take pictures like this, or maybe even like this, but you don't know where to start? The proper equipment you should get, the camera settings, the lighting, the composition, the colors, or simply the ethical guidelines of birding photography. My name is Fernando Collada, and I am the Walker Visual Storytelling Fellow at the National Audubon Society, and I'm going to teach you a thing or two about the basics of bird photography. The first thing you need to figure out is what equipment do you need. So here are the basics. Choose the camera that fits you best. Make sure you know the ins and outs of your camera before you go out taking pictures. An SD card or simply a memory card. So you're going to need at least one of these. A tripod. If you don't have a tripod, get creative and use what you have to hold your camera. A telephoto lens. You're going to want to get close to your subject, especially for birds. This lens will allow you to zoom in real near and spot birds that are way out of your range. Now that we have our equipment, let's talk about the basics of our camera settings. Let's start with the ISO. So what it basically means is your camera sensitivity to the available light within the image. So if you're shooting during dawn or in sunset, you want to up your ISO levels so your image is clear and full of light. But if you're shooting during midday, you want to lower your ISO level so your camera is not overexposed. If you want to freeze time and have birds at mid-flight, you want a fast shutter speed. But if you want to have a more blurred and give the illusion of motion, you want to lower your shutter speed down so you get that illusion of movement. The third one is aperture. This controls the depth of field, how much of your image is actually in focus. This is especially good when you want to isolate your subject and you want to have that smooth, blurry background. So composition, what it basically means is the arrangement of elements within your image to suit a certain goal, message, or story you want to convey to an audience. And these are the very basics of photography. There's a lot more to it, and I encourage you to do your own research. But now that we know the fundamentals, our camera equipment, our camera settings, and a little bit about composition, it's time to get out there and start practicing. So let's go out there and take some pictures of our feathery friends. Telling a story. The first thing you should think about is, what does the image say to someone who wasn't there when you took the shot? Give a glimpse of the bird's life. Where's it flying to? Where's it going? Where has it been? There's an old saying that says a picture's worth 1,000 words. So let's make sure those words actually tell a story. There's no right or wrong answer. With time and practice, you'll eventually find your own voice. There are many rules to photography and composition, but what really matters is what you can bring to the table. What inspires you about birds may inspire many others. So it's up to you to capture it. You can't always rely on happy accidents. If you understand the bird's behavior and you put together all the components of photography, light, color, and composition, that's when you have the opportunity to get a really great shot. Feeders are a great way to attract birds straight to your backyard. You can add a perch or a branch right next to it, and birds will land on it. They like to make sure the coast is clear before going straight to feed. Always focus in the nearest eye of the bird. It's acceptable to have a blurred body or tail, but you're always going to want to have at least one of the eyes in focus. For birds in flight, focus on the head or the body to have a better contrast with your background. Choose your background carefully. Pictures with objects behind birds are not as pleasant as pictures with smooth backgrounds. Shoot many images. I first start by taking one image, making sure it's sharp and on focus, and then I take a burst of about 5 to 10 images. This helps me so when I go back and edit, I can delete the ones I don't like and keep the ones that I do. It's important to have a fast camera that can shoot about 5 to 6 images per second. It is very important to be patient once you're photographing birds. The most amazing and original photos can be when you least expect it. So, wait and be ready with your camera to take the perfect shot. So now that we're back, we need to talk about something that is very important, and that is the guidelines of ethical bird photography. The first thing we need to understand is that we need to put the welfare of the bird first, its needs and habits, and then work backwards towards our photography. The key is to practice empathy and compassion. It's important to celebrate nature, yet we need to minimize her impact and leave as little trace as possible. For us, it's about photography, but for the birds, it's about survival. Here are some of the guidelines that you need to know. Avoid causing any unnecessary stress or disturbance to the birds. Keep a healthy distance, especially if there's a nest. That's why we have our telephoto lens, so we can zoom in real close without actually getting physically near the birds. This also works to our advantage. You're more likely to get a good shot if the bird doesn't feel harassed or disturbed. Getting close to birds in photography is very possible, yet it is also very important that we do it responsibly. Bird feeders are a great way to lure in birds, but it's also very important that we keep them clean, stocked with appropriate food, and also keep a safe space for the birds. It is very important to understand that we cannot lure any birds like hawks, owls, and eagles with food. It can change their behavior in a very unhealthy way. Drones are never a good idea to photograph birds. They are designed with wide lenses to capture vast landscapes. It is very difficult to actually get close to a bird without disturbing its personal space or even a nest. Drones are an amazing tool to capture nature, yet not a great tool to capture birds. Captioning our photos. It is very important that when we caption our photos in social media, we use honesty and integrity. Explain the circumstances in which the photograph was taken. It's not only important to be ethical, but it's also important to give the appearance of ethical, to give a good examples to others. If the bird was captive for educational purposes or the bird was lured, make sure you make that clear. In conclusion, we need to remember that we should focus on the bird's needs first and then our photography. Again, the key is compassion and empathy. If you want to learn more about photography, please visit our website at audubon.org/photography. And if you actually want to see more pictures of birds, please go check out our Audubon Photography Awards. Who knows, maybe next year you can submit an entry yourself. If you want to see more videos about the basics of bird photography, please let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and happy birding, everybody.